Flow with life, don't force it. Marcus Aurelius, Philosophy, Stoicism Community, Old Stoic Wisdom. In the stillness that exists between striving and surrender lies a wisdom older than time itself. This quiet knowing hums through the world in the steady flow of rivers, in the gentle descent of a leaf. You were never meant to force life into your image, but to learn to move with it, to align yourself with its natural rhythm. This is the heart of Stoicism, not in trying to control external events, but in mastering the self. To live well, the Stoics believed, is not to struggle against the world, but to meet it as it is. We are often taught that success, peace, and purpose only come through relentless effort, through pushing and demanding our will upon the world. But what if the very force we exert is what clouds our clarity? The Stoics did not advocate for passivity, but they cautioned against bending reality to our will through sheer force. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "Let things flow naturally, and all things proceed as they must. This is not resignation. It is the quiet strength of wisdom. To force is to resist the current. The river will always win." The Stoic does not attempt to build barriers against life's flow. They build the tools to navigate it. They don't fight the wind. They adjust their sails. This mindset calls for courage, not control, patience, not passivity, trust, not tension. When we stop forcing, we begin to see. When we stop pushing, we begin to flow. That is where true strength becomes calm, where life ceases to be a struggle and becomes a dance with the universe. Let us now explore how we can embody this ancient wisdom, not by abandoning effort, but by directing our energy with grace and discernment. Together, we can walk this path where stillness becomes our strength and surrender, our wisdom. Love is not something you force, but something you allow to unfold naturally, unknown. Chapter 1. The Art of Allowing. What does it truly mean to not force anything? This isn't an invitation to sit idle. It's a reminder to act only when necessary, in harmony with nature and reason. The great Epictetus taught us that we control our will, not the world around us. Forcing is often the desperate move of someone who hasn't yet accepted this reality. There's an undeniable grace in those who don't force things. It's not that they lack drive or ambition. Rather, their ambition is shaped by clarity, not by insatiable desire. They wait for the right moment to act, not the instant their ego demands. There is a rhythm to life, and those who rush, those who snatch at outcomes too early, often spoil the natural flow of things. The Stoics, in their wisdom, often observed nature. They saw how trees grow, not by yanking at their own branches, but by standing firm and drawing nourishment from deep within their roots. This is the way of growth for us too. It is not forced, it is cultivated. It's slow, patient, but ultimately unstoppable when it arises from within. So why do we often try to force things? It's usually rooted in fear. The fear that things won't go our way, the fear of being overlooked, the fear of falling behind. But this fear clouds our judgment. It distorts our vision and pulls us away from the truth. The best things in life are aligned with nature, not imposed by us. Just like a flower cannot be forced to bloom prematurely, we cannot rush love, success, or meaning without distorting them. The key here is to step back and pause when we feel the tension, the urge to push forward too quickly. Ask yourself, is this the right moment? Is this the right direction? Is this in alignment with my true self? Or is it driven by anxiety? The art of allowing isn't about avoiding action. It's about acting without strain, without manipulation. It's about doing your part, then letting the universe take its course. This, my friend, is the blessing of Stoicism. And as a modern Stoic, you must embrace this art of allowing. Let go of the need to force and trust the natural flow of things. That's the true path to peace, success, and fulfillment. Chapter 2. Resistance reveals attachment. Wherever there is resistance, there is attachment. This is one of the most profound Stoic lessons. When we find ourselves fighting for something, whether it's a relationship, a goal, or a specific result, we're often revealing more than just a desire. We're showing an unhealthy dependency. It's not simply about wanting something to happen. It's about clinging to it so fiercely that its absence feels like a personal loss, like we can't function without it. This dependency is what makes us suffer. It's the very thing that distorts our vision, makes us lose control, and shackles us to the unpredictable outcomes of life. You must understand this. When you force something, you're not just chasing success, you're allowing it to define you. Marcus Aurelius, that great old Stoic, often reminded himself that nature knows best. To live well, you must live in harmony with it, and nature doesn't ask for your resistance. In fact, when something resists you repeatedly, deeply, and unmistakably, it's a signal from life itself. It might be telling you, this isn't your path, or not yet. The wise individual does not argue with reality. They understand that reality is a map, and all they must do is read it. To fight against life's flow is to swim upstream unnecessarily. You must ask yourself, is this the right battle? Is this the right time? If it resists you so fiercely, maybe it's not meant to be, at least not now. But don't confuse this with passivity. The Stoics, those warriors of the soul, understood that hardship is inevitable and sometimes necessary. They didn't avoid difficulties. They met them head-on with discipline, resilience, and discernment. The Stoic life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about choosing your challenges wisely. Not every obstacle needs to be confronted. Not every difficulty is a battle worth fighting. The Stoics resisted only when resistance was aligned with their principles. They knew that overcoming adversity is often necessary to build strength, but they never resisted out of pride or out of a compulsive need to bend the world to their will. So, what does it mean to force something purely to satisfy the ego? It means that you're enslaved to desire, bound by impatience and fear. Real strength, however, is not about forcing things to happen. It doesn't roar, it doesn't shout, and it doesn't demand its way. It is quiet, restrained, and rooted in wisdom. True strength lies in the ability to pause before reacting. It grows in the space between desire and action, in that moment when you resist the urge to impose your will on life. It thrives when you can say, I want this, but I do not need it. And that, my friend, is a critical Stoic lesson. The Stoic life isn't about pretending you don't want things. You must acknowledge your desires, but you must never let them own you. The stronger path is the one that allows you to detach from outcomes. It is the path that lets you say, I want this, but my happiness, my peace, and my sense of self-worth are not dependent on whether it happens. This detachment isn't cold or indifferent. It is liberating. It means you can embrace life fully, without being dragged down by every disappointment. It is the blessing of Stoicism to recognize that the more you let go of what you can't control, the more peace you find within yourself. Remember, life is not about forcing, fighting, or clinging. It is about flow. The Stoic life teaches us that when we stop struggling against the natural course of things, we find harmony. It's time to stop forcing and start flowing. Be a modern Stoic. Live with intention, purpose, and wisdom, but also with a recognition that not every fight is yours to win. If you found value in this message, comment below, and share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more timeless wisdom from the Stoic Teachings comment. To remember, I align with life's flow, and I am strong in my detachment. Chapter 3. The Quiet Power of Surrender. Surrender is often misunderstood. In the Stoic philosophy, surrender is not about weakness or defeat. It is about clarity and discernment. It is about knowing when to push forward and when to let go. This is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to trust the flow of life, to accept what cannot be changed, and to focus only on what is within our control. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This trust is not blind. It is not about passively accepting whatever comes your way. It is about understanding that the universe moves in ways beyond our comprehension, and we must align ourselves with this natural order. In fact, Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. To live well is to be led, not dragged." This profound insight reveals that the key to life is not in forcing things, but in embracing the rhythm of life itself. You must stop resisting what you cannot control. The energy you waste on pushing against the inevitable only depletes you. Instead, focus on what is yours to control: your thoughts, your actions, your values. Think of the mountain, unyielding, unmoved by the storms that rage around it. It doesn't chase the storm. It endures. It accepts what comes. Why? Because it is rooted in its purpose, in its strength. You too must root yourself, not in the outcomes of your efforts, but in the Stoic principles of courage, acceptance, and clarity. Your foundation should be firm, unwavering, built on a deep understanding of what truly matters. The person who forces is always reactive. They are constantly battling life's challenges, pushing back against every obstacle. But the Stoic who surrenders is always proactive. They choose their response. They make decisions with purpose. They show up fully, do their best with integrity, and then release the outcome. Their work is not to manipulate the results, but to remain true to their highest values. They understand that victory is not found in forcing the universe to bend to their will, but in aligning their will with the natural flow of things. You must not beg, plead, or cling to expectations like a lifeline. Desperation corrupts the purity of your intentions. You must live with quiet diligence. Your actions should be guided by your principles, not by your need for approval or validation. You do not control the universe, but you control your response to it. And that is where your power lies: your work, your effort, your voice. They should come from a place of truth, not from a place of manipulation. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. You do not work to control the outcome, but to remain aligned with your core beliefs. You give because it is right to give. You act because it is right to act. The Stoic life is a life of strength through surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means giving in to what is. It means trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to, and your role is to live with integrity, clarity, and purpose. It is about choosing how you respond to what comes, not forcing life to fit your desires. You are the master of your mind, and that is where your victory lies. Live by the Stoic principles. Root yourself in strength. And remember, you are a little soul carrying around a corpse, as Marcus Aurelius said. It's not about controlling the external world. It's about mastering the one thing you can control: yourself. Live with honor, act with purpose, and surrender to the flow of life, knowing that true strength lies in accepting what is, and in doing so, you will find your peace, your victory, and your mastery of life. Chapter 4. When patience is strength. In a world that pushes us to hurry, the wisdom of patience stands out like a rare treasure. We live in an age where speed, instant results, and immediate satisfaction are constantly celebrated. But here's the truth. Patience isn't a passive virtue. It's a dynamic strength. The Stoics understood this deeply. Rushing, acting without thought, or forcing outcomes only leads to mistakes. Most errors stem from the rush to act before we understand, from trying to make things happen before the right moment has arrived. They taught us that true wisdom doesn't rush, it patiently waits. It doesn't come from force or haste, but from taking a step back, observing, and allowing clarity to emerge naturally. Patience, for the modern Stoic, is not about doing nothing. It's about doing everything in its own time, with deliberate intention. It requires strength to remain calm when everything around you screams, "Move now!" It's not about being indecisive. It's about discernment, the ability to hold your ground and wait for the right time to act. This discipline, this internal control over yourself, is the key to transforming chaos into calm. Life will unfold on its own time, no matter how much we try to speed things up. And patience is our way of being prepared for what comes, rather than being controlled by the frenzy around us. It's the blessing of Stoicism to know that we can't control the unfolding of events or others' actions, but we do have control over how we respond to them. The modern Stoic doesn't react in panic or stress. They meet life's turbulence with stillness. They choose how they respond, not just to the events but to the emotional storms inside them. This is what it means to be truly in control. You are grounded and rooted while everything else around you is in motion. When you feel the urge to act immediately, to force a decision, pause, take a deep breath. Often, what feels like urgency is simply a mask for fear. The trick is to recognize the difference between what's a true call to action and what's merely your anxiety trying to pull you into a panic. This is the wisdom of Stoicism at work, being patient enough to question whether your rush is driven by wisdom or fear. It's knowing that being ready is more important than being early. Patience teaches us to wait for the right moment, to listen to the quiet signals that others may miss in their frantic pursuit of action. It shows us that not all movement is progress. In fact, sometimes the best action is no action at all, or at least not right now. Through patience, we learn the difference between noise and signal, between empty movement and true progress. We understand that time spent in reflection is never wasted. It's preparing us for the future in ways we can't always see yet. It's about cultivating a mindset that values subtlety over haste, stillness over frantic activity. The modern Stoic knows that actions rooted in impatience often lead to regrets. They are aware that the best time to act is when you are clear, focused, and aligned with your inner compass. The wisdom of waiting, of patiently watching life unfold without forcing it, gives them the ability to act with precision. They don't rush to prove anything. They act because they are aligned with their purpose. They move not to impress others, but to create meaningful impact, making each step count. This clarity of purpose allows them to make decisions from a place of peace rather than panic. Their movements are measured, but that doesn't mean they lack momentum. In fact, the stillness gives their actions incredible power. When you can wait with intention, without being swept up by external pressures, your actions will carry far more weight. The key is not to be constantly on the go, but to recognize that patience is an active choice, a choice that leads to far more lasting results. Life doesn't have to be a race, it's more of a rhythm. When you sync yourself to that rhythm, your pace becomes purposeful, unstoppable, and fluid. This is the power of patience in action, a strength without force, movement without chaos. In the end, the Stoics' power lies not in their ability to act immediately, but in their ability to act at the right moment, with full presence and intention. They don't let fear or desperation guide their decisions. They don't rush into action just because the world says they should. They wait. They observe. They act only when the time is right. This is the blessing of Stoicism, the peace that comes from knowing when to move and when to be still. By mastering the art of patience, we discover a profound strength within ourselves, the ability to walk through life calmly, confidently, and with purpose. And in that space, we find the clarity to make decisions that are not only effective but meaningful. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. Chapter 5. Living with open hands. Living without forcing is to live with open hands. Not grasping, not clinging, just open. Open to receive, open to release. This is the posture of peace. This is the posture of true power. Many of us live clenched, gripping tightly onto plans, people, outcomes, and even our identities. And in that grip, we lose ourselves. We become tense, reactive, and brittle. Our energy is drained, our joy becomes conditional, and we stop living in the present moment. We begin to live under pressure instead of presence. The Stoics taught the opposite. Live light, travel light. Let go of the illusion that you must manage every detail, hold every thread, or carry every burden alone. Hold your values deeply, but your outcomes lightly. Focus on what matters most, but don't let desires enslave you. This is the essence of Stoic life, being grounded in character and letting go of the need for control. An open hand welcomes life. It holds what comes and releases what leaves. It doesn't chase or force. It doesn't shrink in the face of uncertainty. It trusts, not blindly, but with understanding. The Old Stoics believed that what belongs to you will stay without needing to be taken by force. What is truly meant for you will come naturally, without being dragged by desperation. An open hand isn't a sign of weakness. It's readiness. It's surrender with strength. It's the space through which grace enters. To live this way, start by loosening your grip on things that don't belong to you. Control, outcomes, approval, and timelines. Let go of the scripts telling you that everything must happen now, or that your worth depends on how others see you. Ask yourself, what am I holding too tightly? What's it costing me? My peace, my clarity, my presence? What would happen if I simply opened my hand? Often, the answer is freedom. There is a quiet freedom that makes room for grace, for reflection, for unhurried breath. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't need to assert itself. It simply arrives when you stop clinging. This freedom is not just a release, it's a return to yourself, to the present moment, and to the core of what matters. When you stop controlling, clarity follows. Where fear and tension once were, peace grows. You lose only what was weighing you down: illusions, false control, and the compulsion to orchestrate every detail of your life. What remains is flow, a life that's less about forcing and more about responding with grace. It's calm, it's strength, not from gripping harder, but from standing rooted in who you are, in your values, and in your willingness to release what no longer serves you. Live like the Stoics. Firm steps rooted in principle, not panic. Walk with open hands. Know how to let go, receive, and hold only what is meant to stay. This isn't about capturing life and forcing it to fit your vision. It's about walking beside it, witnessing it unfold, and accepting it with reverence instead of resistance. That's how peace enters. Not through domination, but through dignity. Not through control, but through grounded presence. This is the way of the open hand, the way of the Stoics. It's the path of wisdom, leading not to chaos, but to a peace that endures. Chapter 6. Accepting the season you're in. Every life has seasons. There are times for planting and times for harvest, times for silence and times for action, times when things move with momentum, and times when things seem to stand still. The Stoic learns to respect these rhythms with deep humility. They do not try to harvest in winter. They do not curse the quiet moments of waiting. They do not panic when the world seems to be passing them by. They trust the process of change, the wisdom of the cycle. They accept the season they're in, and they act accordingly. They observe before they act, reflect before they judge, and adapt instead of resist. Trying to force a season is one of the quickest ways to lose your peace. When you demand progress before it's time, or compare your path to someone else's, you sow the seeds of frustration and self-doubt. You rush what was meant to unfold slowly, and in that rush, you lose the lesson and the strength it was meant to build. When you compare your journey to another's or demand progress on your timeline, you introduce unnecessary suffering. Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well." This is not passive, it's perceptive. It invites you to drop the illusion of control and develop the virtue of alignment. It teaches us to notice what life is showing us rather than what we demand of it. It urges us to become students of timing rather than prisoners of pressure. Perhaps your season is one of building quietly in the dark. Perhaps it's one of rest or healing or waiting. Perhaps it is a chapter of unlearning, of release, of refining your inner world while the outer remains still. These seasons are subtle. They whisper rather than roar. They move like shadows, shaping you silently. That doesn't mean it's wasted. In fact, these are often the most fertile chapters of life, the soil from which all future growth springs. The Stoic understands that value is not always visible, that a seed beneath the soil is just as alive as the flower in bloom, that waiting is not passive, It is a form of preparation. Some of the most important growth happens when no one sees it, not even you. It is quiet, hidden, sacred work, the work of preparation, of laying foundations, and the Stoic honours that work with the same seriousness as they would a public victory. They know that the harvest is only possible because of the silent planting. To live without forcing is to be in harmony with time, not in resistance to it, not as an adversary, but as an apprentice to its wisdom. Time has its own logic, its own momentum, its own order. To try to rush it is to fight the tide. To trust it is to learn to move in step with the eternal rhythm. To trust that your pace is not broken, that your path is not lost, that your quiet season is not evidence of failure, but of form being shaped, of depth being carved, that your season is exactly as it needs to be, even if you can't yet see the shape of its purpose. You water the soil you've been given, you tend to what's in front of you, even if it feels like nothing is happening. You nurture what you can with patience, with presence, with faith. You resist the temptation to pull up the roots to check their progress. You let them take hold beneath the surface, and when the time is right, you will see the fruit, not a moment too early, not a moment too late, but exactly when you are ready to receive it. But you do not pull on the stem to make it grow. You do not shout at the clouds to rain. You do not bargain with nature to bend to your will. You let it come. You create the conditions for life to unfold, and then you step back with reverence. And in doing so, you honour the very nature of life itself, the slow, wise, unforced way in. If you found this valuable, comment below, and share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. Comment to remember, I trust the season I'm in and flow with life, not forcing it. Let's embrace the wisdom of the Stoics and live in harmony with time, which all things rise. Chapter 7. The difference between effort and forcing. Understand this. Not all action equates to forcing. The Stoics were diligent doers who embraced the work and struggles of life, but they didn't chase after them in a frantic, desperate way. Instead, they chose their efforts wisely, knowing that true strength arises from purposeful living. They valued discipline, training, and hard work, but their focus was inward, not outward. Their primary concern was who they were becoming, rather than the external results they were chasing. The Stoic path prioritized character over control, willpower over outcomes, and integrity over intensity. They put energy into shaping their inner selves, not the world around them. This type of effort is calm, steady, and sustainable. On the flip side, forcing is an effort twisted by fear. It's a movement born out of anxiety, the frantic need to impose a specific outcome regardless of the timing or natural flow. Forcing is trying to control what isn't yours to control. People, circumstances, results. It's mistaken motion, confusing activity with progress. It's about demanding things happen exactly as imagined, regardless of what reality has in store. Forcing disregards the natural order, ignores the signs, and pushes against the inevitable. More often than not, it leads to burnout, exhaustion, and a sense of disillusionment. You must recognize that forcing wears down the soul because it disconnects effort from wisdom. True effort, when aligned with reason, brings peace. It's an offering of energy that harmonizes with your values. This is the kind of effort that strengthens rather than depletes, coming from purpose rather than panic. It doesn't demand, it contributes, it doesn't overwhelm, it organizes, it allows for steady progress without compromising who you are. Effort is sustainable because it grows out of conviction, not compulsion. Forcing, on the other hand, pressures, suffocates, and distorts. It imposes your pace, forcing others and circumstances to meet your expectations. It traps you in a cycle of resistance, where you push harder but get nowhere. Effort, when it flows naturally, respects the timing of things, listens to the rhythm of life, and adapts accordingly. It moves forward with clarity, and knows when to adjust or rest. Forcing tries to dam the river, to control what cannot be controlled, creating unnecessary tension. It's a constant push against reality, and it leaves you feeling exhausted, even if you're busy. True effort builds because it aligns with nature, purpose, and timing. The modern Stoic knows the difference. They commit to action grounded in wisdom, not desperation. Their momentum is deliberate, never frantic. And when effort is not rooted in virtue, it becomes a burden, not a blessing of Stoicism. They cultivate effort that flows with the rhythm of life, not against it. They choose alignment over agitation, and trust that virtue will always guide them towards sustainable success. Ask yourself, are you acting from a place of clarity or chaos? Are you moving with life or against it? Is your effort grounded in wisdom or driven by fear? Is your pace one of alignment or urgency? These questions help you identify where you're forcing, where you're holding on too tightly, and where your actions have become mere noise. Often, when we feel exhausted, not by the effort itself, but by the strain behind it, it's because we've disconnected from our true selves. We're chasing shadows instead of standing in the light. To reclaim your power, return to what's yours, your discipline, choices, perception, and response. Remember, no one can take these from you unless you surrender them. Let go of what you cannot force, and release what lies beyond your control. Let go with wisdom, not bitterness. The Stoics' work is hard, but it's not hurried. It's steady, deliberate, and aligned with the soul's rhythm. It doesn't rush toward validation or outcomes. This is the true difference between effort and forcing. It's the blessing of Stoicism. And when you choose it, you step into a power the world can't give or take away. Chapter 8. Letting go of the need to control people. Letting go of control, especially when it comes to others, is tough. We often try to change people, thinking we're helping or guiding them, but, in reality, we're trying to control them, shaping their behaviour to fit our expectations instead of accepting them as they are. This subtle need for control often disguises itself as care, but the Stoics taught us that we cannot control another's journey. They emphasize the importance of understanding what's ours to control and what's not. Trying to change someone breeds frustration, resentment, and conflict. It builds walls between us and those we care about. Worse, it often pushes them further away. Coercing transformation strips away their dignity and autonomy, hurting both them and us. True strength lies not in persuasion, but in presence. It's living your truth so clearly that others feel it, not just hear it. Influence flows from example, not insistence. When you stop trying to control, you open the door to real connection. You allow love to emerge freely, without pressure. This kind of love respects others' freedom, and in doing so, it fosters mutual understanding and deeper bonds. By letting go of the need to change others, you free yourself from emotional strain. This shift redirects your energy inward, giving you clarity, peace, and strength. The Stoic doesn't chase or fix. They live by their principles, setting an example without forcing others to conform. True influence begins when coercion ends. Transformation starts with living authentically, not demanding it from others. Chapter 9. The Paradox of Power. To understand the true nature of power, one must first let go of the misguided belief that control equates to strength. True power is not found in gripping tightly to circumstances, manipulating outcomes, or forcing your will upon the world. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Power is not about domination, but about presence, calm, and unwavering principles. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, impulses, and judgments, so that you can meet the world not with force, but with clarity. When you stop fighting the current of life, you find a flow that carries you effortlessly. Those who are grounded in their values don't need to chase success or attention. It comes to them naturally because they emanate an energy that draws people in. They are whole within themselves, independent of external validation. This kind of person commands authority, not because they demand it, but because their presence speaks volumes. They do not compete, they contribute. They don't need to rush or force things. Opportunities arrive when they are prepared to meet them. In a world that often feels chaotic, the Stoic finds stillness and clarity, not by eliminating the chaos, but by choosing not to be ruled by it. They do not panic. They do not react impulsively. They respond with reason and principle, keeping their philosophy as a compass in the storm. You must stop confusing effort with control. Too often, we let our drive for perfection or productivity create unnecessary stress. Ask yourself, are you acting out of wisdom or out of fear? Are you trying to control every outcome to avoid discomfort, or are you trusting the process? The Stoic teaches us that true strength is not in trying to control everything, but in mastering ourselves. When you align with life's natural flow, you create space for peace. Peace comes not from forcing, but from surrendering, letting go of the pressure and trusting that things will unfold as they should. As you walk through life, you must learn to move with purpose, not pressure. Be decisive, but do not be driven by urgency. Know when to act and when to rest, for both are acts of wisdom. Strength is not in the loudness of your actions, but in the stillness of your presence. The greatest form of power is not in forcing outcomes, but in mastering yourself. And in that mastery, you find a quiet, unshakable strength. This is what makes the Stoic powerful, their ability to remain steady in the face of life's unpredictability. To live by Stoic principles is to walk with quiet strength, knowing that you don't need to overpower the world to live powerfully. You must stop seeking control and start embracing mastery. If you find value in this lesson, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit from embracing the power of presence and calm. Don't forget to subscribe for more transformative wisdom. Comment to remember, I am grounded in strength and flow with life, not force it. Let's build a community of Stoic warriors, mastering life with grace and clarity. Chapter 10. Trust the process. Live philosophy. The core of Stoicism is simple, yet profound. Live in harmony with nature, not in resistance to it, not in constant friction with reality, but in tune with its rhythm. You were never meant to bend the world to your will or fight against its flow. You were meant to align with it, to synchronize with its beat. Your purpose is not to force the outcome, but to bring your best to each moment, your full presence, your calm focus, and your unwavering virtue. Let everything else unfold as it is meant to. Life is not here to serve you, it's here to teach you. Your job is not to control life, but to move alongside it with grace. Don't force anything doesn't mean doing less. It means doing it right. It's not about disengaging or avoiding. It's about alignment. It's knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when silence holds more power. It's about moving with clarity, not confusion, integrity, not ego, calm, not chaos. It's knowing when to walk away because it's not your fight, and when to step in because it is. It's about trusting the process. Even when you can't see the outcome, you must understand that most problems don't need immediate action. They need patient observation. Stoics were not passive, they were powerful, but their power was precise. It wasn't loud or frantic, it was thoughtful and intentional. They did not waste energy on things beyond their control. Instead, they conserved their strength for what was theirs to shape, what they could control: their thoughts, their responses, their principles, and by doing so, they became immovable. You can live this way today, not by changing the world, but by changing how you approach it. Shift from resistance to awareness. Let the wind flow around you instead of trying to push against it. Don't force open doors that are meant to stay shut. Some doors are closed because they're not meant for you, or they're not meant for now. Stop trying to control others who are never meant to be controlled. People aren't puzzles to solve, they're souls to honor. Don't try to rush your timeline when there's a bigger one unfolding beneath it. The universe has its own rhythm, one that doesn't answer to your deadlines. Live with open hands. Let go of the tension. Stop clenching your fists and furrowing your brow. You cannot receive what's meant for you if your hands are closed. trying to control everything. Hold tightly only to what belongs to you, your character, your choices, and your courage. Everything else is borrowed. It will pass. Let it go. Trust that when you stop forcing, you begin to see the truth. You'll begin to notice the beauty, the opportunity, and the love unfolding around you without your interference. You begin to live with a sensitivity to life's quiet guidance, a readiness to welcome what is truly yours. When you stop grasping, you start receiving. When you stop dictating, you start listening. Life begins to move toward you because you no longer block it with fear. You stop crowding the doorway to your blessings. The life you're meant to live doesn't need to be wrestled into place. It won't arrive through tension. It doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence. It arrives in its own time, like the seasons, the sunrise, or the river meeting the sea. Inevitable, effortless, and ordained. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And when it does arrive, you'll be ready. Not because you chased it, but because you made space for it. Let this be your posture still. Strong, surrendered, not weak but deliberate, not resigned, but fully awake. Not as someone who has given up, but as someone who has finally understood. This is the Stoic way. This is how you walk through life unshaken, unhurried, and unforced. You are a quiet force of peace in a world obsessed with panic. And that, my friend, is the blessing of Stoicism. It's the modern Stoic's gift to us all, the understanding that peace comes not through control, but through presence, trust, and grace. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe for more insightful content on Stoic philosophy and life wisdom. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether it's feedback, questions, or just your take on what we discussed today. Drop a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going. Remember, the path to a peaceful mind comes from embracing life as it is. Just like Marcus Aurelius taught us, stay calm, stay wise, and I'll catch you in the next video.